So last time we had done up to stanza 54. In stanza 54, Arjun asks Krishan the description of a yogi, the description of a evolved person. How is a man, a intelligent man, a realized man described by others. He asked Krishna to describe it, and he also said how what are his actions in what are the actions of a wise man. We had left it at that, and I had discussed that the next 18 verses that we are going to do is Krishna explaining what is a wise man, what are the characteristics of a wise man, how does a wise man behave, not talk and walk as such, but what is the embodiment of a wise person. So from stanza 55, anyway, coming to stanza 55 is from where Krishna starts answering that question. He says, when a man completely casts off his desires and becomes self sustaining in or self fulfilling in satisfaction, that is a man who is known as an intelligent man or a wise man. A spiritually ignorant or immature person hangs on to desires because that person depends on the outside for happiness. When you're mature, when you grow, when you evolve, you don't have the dependence on fulfillment of your desires to attain happiness. That means your happiness is not dependent on outside sources. Your happiness is not dependent on, I bought a new car, I got a new watch, I got a better house, I got better clothes, I went out for dinner, I went to a five-star. None of these, the unreal, which we've discussed again and again and again, the unreal does not have the power over us to make us happy. Our happiness is a constant state within ourselves. The phrase Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa Atma, I am happy inside of me. The happiness is from the core of me. And that happiness is not dependent on any external forces. It is this knowledge that is the embodiment of a wise person, getting this knowledge that everything outside is transient. Whatever we're getting, because what happens is when we get so dependent on the fulfillment of desire to attain happiness, there is a problem because there's no end to it. Today, I want 1 crore, and I presume that when I get that 1 crore, I'm going to be happy. But when I get that 1 crore, I'm now looking to make 2 crores. When I get the 2 crores, I'm looking to make 3 crores. There's no end to desire and expectation. And if we are going to link our basic happiness on the fulfillment of the desire, we are never going to be happy because that is transient happiness. Like we know, this too shall pass, that happiness too shall pass. I bought myself a Cartier watch and I'm so happy with it. How long do you think that happiness is going to last? All of maybe a day, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 2 days. Then I've achieved it, it's done, project over. I'm looking for the next project to go and achieve happiness. One of the biggest reasons why this world is so unhappy today, there is so much of depression, there is so much of sadness, there's so much of grief because, and here I am generalizing, the world at large has moved towards very, very material things for happiness. So their happiness is dependent on a Jimmy Choo pair of shoes or a better school for their kids or better clothes or branded clothes, a bigger house, a bigger this. Nobody is taking a minute to reflect and think. these are all transient. Yes, be happy. Nobody's saying not be happy. But your soul happiness, the internal happiness, that Sat Chit Ananda, that true happiness, does not happen from the unreal. If we put so much of emphasis on the unreal, we will never be happy. And this is being proved to us time and time again. Look around you. Why are people unhappy? If you ask them why they're unhappy, I didn't get a promotion, I didn't get a job, I didn't get more money, I don't have money in the bank, or I have too little in the bank, they're never satisfied. A wise person does not base his happiness on what is the unreal. He bases his happiness on what is real. And what we've understood from so far, so many, this is the seventh session we are doing. The one thing that has come to us again and again, what the only real thing, the world is transient, unreal. Life is transient, unreal. The bodies we inhabit, transient, unreal. Everything is unreal except the one, the super consciousness, and the part of that super consciousness that resides in us, the Atma, the soul. That is the only real. So if we concentrate on that, that is when true happiness can be found. This is the answer for part one of the question. Now, in the next three verses from stanza 56, 57, and 58, Krishna goes to answer the next part of the question, which is how does a person behave? What are the characteristics of a wise person? He says a wise man should be like that tortoise. Here he is taking the limbs of the tortoise to be your senses. Withdraw your senses from the outside world. Concentrate them or focus them on the inside world that we carry within us. And that is a wise person. He says, Krishna says, or Ved Vyasa says, the difference between a wise person and a not so wise person is that a wise person doesn't get bogged down in difficult times. It is not that he doesn't feel the pain. It is not that when you're hurt, when you go through rough times, when you go through challenging times, you are going to feel all those emotions. The difference between a wise and an unwise is the wise person knows that this is transient, it too shall pass, and does not hang on to that grief. He doesn't get married to those emotions. He knows this too shall pass. The unwise person who does not understand this hangs on to the grief. They cling to their grief. They cling to their problems. That is a huge difference between the wise and the unwise. And this is what Krishna is trying to explain, that the wise person, the core is never disturbed. You will go through the emotions, you will go through everything, you will go through challenges, you will go through pleasures, you will go through everything. It is not that you won't. He is not saying that sannyas le lo. He is not saying any of that. What he is saying is that do not get married to those emotions, because that is when starts your downfall. He says that a wise man not only is not disturbed by the challenges of life, he is not even disturbed by the pleasures of life. He knows that both pleasures and challenges both are transient. He is not dependent on either the pleasure or the grief. Nothing. He gets married to nothing. He just goes through all the emotions, goes through all the actions that are needed to be done, goes through everything without getting affected by them. And I know I have heard this very often when people have turned around and said, but it is hard to do. It's not really that hard. It is. I am a living example of the fact that you can go through an exceedingly challenging life. Not getting into the nitty gritties of it here, some other time, some other session, but not, and I don't know, at that time I didn't have the knowledge, but somehow I had the sense not to get married to that grief, not to get married to the situation, not to get married to the challenges. It was like, okay, it's happened, it's Done, it's over. I refuse to look back. For me, life is forward. And when life is forward, what is the point looking back and grieving over something that has passed? It's gone, it's done, it's over. I am not going to allow. Now, here is where this is my take on what Christian says. I am not going to allow circumstances, situations, challenges to make a puppet out of me to control my emotions. My emotions are my own. Yes, I will feel the pain. I will cry. I will vent. I will shout. I will scream. I will lose my temper. But once I have it out of my system, it is done, over, and finished. Like done and dusted, put it away. It is not going to control the rest of my life. Why would I allow something that was not nice in my life to control the rest of my life? That is height of stupidity in my mind. Forget logic, forget common sense, forget the Vedanta, forget everything. Today, somebody harms you, somebody cheats you, let's say it's your best friend, or it's your parent, or it's your child, somebody has really hurt you. Feel the hurt. Absolutely nobody is saying don't feel the hurt. Feel the hurt, feel the pain, feel all the emotions. But let them go. Don't allow that emotion to dictate the balance of your life. That is stupidity. And that is why I've always said it is doable if you love yourself enough. You will not allow somebody else or another circumstance or something else to control you. Emotions control you. So if somebody provokes anger in you, what that person has done is controlled you like a puppet. They know what button to press to know you're going to lose your temper, to know you're going to react. When you're going to react, you are going to say and do the things that you should not be saying or doing, harming yourself. Usko kya farak pada? You've damaged yourself. A very small example. We were in an aircraft. We were flying to, I think we were going to Malaysia. This was like a government delegation we were going. And of course, government being government, the senior officials were sitting in business class and we were in cattle class. Now, in cattle class, this one officer was not offered a certain brand of whiskey which he saw being offered in business class. He lost his temper and refused to eat food for the entire flight. Now, was he being stupid or not? His loss of temper, did it affect the air hostesses? Did it affect the airlines? Did it affect the government? Nothing. He reacted, his reaction made him stay hungry for a 6-hour flight duration. Now, who was stupid? Him or somebody else? This is what happens when we hang on to emotions, when we allow them to make a puppet of ourselves. And this is what Krishna is trying to tell Arjun, that the one whose mind and intellect are totally free from intense longings or passion for anything that is not real, free from fear of any kind, and devoid of anger about anything or anybody, is someone who truly understands duality of life, and that is the person who is wise, who will find peace, and who will find happiness. And I think for all of us, the ultimate goal is to find peace of mind and happiness. And these can only come when we understand duality and let it go. Very important. There is no end to sorrow and unfavorable situations. A person who stays undisturbed, whether it is sorrow or joy, who is unattached, who is fearless, who is without anger, this is a man who is steady of wisdom. This is a sage. This is an evolved human being. And here, very specifically, there are three emotions that Ved Vyasa has mentioned: attachment, fear, anger. These three emotions are the undoing of all of us. Look at it. The strongest emotions we go through are attachment, fear, anger. And these three emotions make us puppets to them. They make us react. And we do understand when we react, it is never correct. Action always correct, reaction never correct. I have yet to know a reaction that has ever been correct. Attachment is the root cause of fear, not getting the desired object. If we don't, we get attached to something, we get scared about not getting it. When we get scared about not getting it, we get anxious. When we get anxious, it leads to anger, and all this becomes a cyclic process. Think about it. I am desperate to get that promotion in my job. I get so attached to the job, so attached to the promotion, that I build up stress, I build up anxiety. As I build up stress and anxiety, I build up nervousness, I get fear, I get all the other emotions attached to it. When I don't get that promotion, God forbid, then I have anger, anger against my bosses, anger against myself, anger against the world. I feel let down. We've seen this happen in the army so often. You have superseded officers. A lot of them get superseded for whatever reasons, but by and large, when you meet them, a lot of them are very disgruntled people. Not one of them has looked at themselves to see why they got superseded. Superseded means you're not getting the next promotion. Not one of them looks at themselves to see why they're not superseded. There's always a reason. 99% of the time, there is a reason why they were superseded, but instead of looking at that, they are so angry, they're so annoyed, they're so frustrated, they're so disgruntled. Who are they making unhappy? The government, the army? Nobody. They're making themselves unhappy. Yes, they're creating a lot of unhappiness for their family and people around them, but those people have the option to walk away, move away. So ultimately, who's unhappy? The person themselves, which is what Krishna is trying to explain. A wise man will not do this to himself. He says the objects of the senses fall away, but not the taste of them. He goes on further to explain that the objects of the senses fall away, but the taste doesn't go. It is only when the taste goes away that you will be able to achieve that happiness. What he's saying is something so beautiful. A non vegetarian becomes a vegetarian because religion said it, some pundit said it, somebody said it, or suddenly it's the fad to be vegetarian, so I've decided to become vegetarian. I'm abstinent, I'm not having the non veg, but I crave that taste of the non veg. Then how have I given it up? So it is not just giving up, it is giving up the desire, giving up the emotion for it altogether. That is when true happiness comes. So by saying, oh, today all of you are going to walk away from this class saying, we are not going to give in to our senses, we are not going to let our emotions rule us. So what you'll do, you'll control your temper, you will control your fear, you'll control this. But have you eradicated it from the system? No. So if you haven't eradicated it, then you've really not done, you've not removed it. To remove something, it is not just being abstinent from it, it is actually to remove the taste for it altogether. That is a wise man who realizes it is not abstinence but a complete eradication. Difference in the two words. Abstinence, I'm not going to drink. Eradication, I don't feel the need, I don't feel the desire to have a drink. That is eradication. Abstinence is, I'm not having a Tuesday here. It's, like it's Hanuman's day. So today I will not drink. But that is only abstinence. I've not removed the desire, the want, the need for the thing in itself. This is what Krishna is saying. A wise man removes the need for that thing. So to remove that need, the best way to do it is to go deeper and deeper into the understanding of duality. The more you understand duality, the less things start affecting you. Ved Vyasa further says that even a wise man will find it difficult to control. It is not very easy to control your senses. They are the senses. They are full of Maya. They are going to bombard us with a lot of stimuli. Even for a wise person, it is a constant endeavor to control them. Don't think it's going to happen like this. It's not. Even when you feel you've controlled it, there will be times when it'll flare up. So it is a constant process of evolution. So why he's saying that, what he's trying to say is, don't get disheartened if you fall along the way. Not a big deal. You will fall. Even the wise fall. Even the sages have fallen. We've heard so many stories about it. That's okay. It is the trying that is very important. Don't give up on the effort. What he does say is that once you have controlled the senses, become steadfast. Focus on me. Focus on my wisdom to get all your senses under control. When he says focus on me, to me, that focus on me is focusing on God, but the God resides inside me. It is not a God I'm looking for somewhere else. It is that God that resides in me. That God that awakens when I get out of duality into singularity to understand I am an inherent part of the cosmos. When I am a part of that cosmos, why am I searching for that God outside? It is very much inside me. I am a part of him. In fact, the beautiful thing in Bible, when they say this thing, I made man in my image. What is the Bible trying to say? I made man in my image. Man, God, God, man. That God you're looking at outside is inside you so long as you evolve that godliness, so long as you evolve that spirit. You evolve yourself to that level where you actually become godlike. That is exactly what Krishna is saying, what Ved Vyasa is trying to say here, what our Vedantic theories say. Further, Krishna goes on to say, from anger comes delusion, from delusion, loss of memory, from loss of memory, the destruction of intelligence. And when intelligence gets destroyed, a person gets destroyed. And we have seen that often enough. In fact, there have been enough examples of it in the previous sessions. I'm not going to go into that more. He says, and again, a lot of this is being repeated. So you have heard it before. But that is, like I said, one way of retaining to memory is repetition. The more it gets repeated, the more likely that it is going to stay in our memories. Ved Vyasa further says, the self-controlled man moves through life, moves through world, moves through everything, irrespective of being bombarded by stimuli with the senses, free from both attraction and repulsion, and gets peace. Once again, he talks of duality. That person who controls his senses will not get taken in by attraction to somebody, or will not be taken in by aversion to somebody. He becomes free. He says this state of freedom is the Brahmi state, the Brahman state. Krishna says, attaining this, none is deluded. Even at the hour of death, one attains final liberation. The person gets moksha. It is where ego ends and the individuality is completely wiped out. There is a state of selfhood, the state of Brahman. It is Sat Chit Ananda that comes in, absolute bliss. total knowledge. Basically, what Krishna says is here are attributes of a wise man, which is what he has given in all the verses till the end of the chapter. There is evenness of mind. That means you have equanimity of mind. You are not, you do not rejoice in pleasure and are not averse to pain. You are a static frame of mind. No attachment to any worldly objects. Do not get disturbed when whether you're praised or you're scolded, doesn't matter. Always identifies with the self, the soul inside you. Here, very important, what they're not saying is that detach, go live in the jungle, live the life of a recluse, and that is the way to get over all the attachments. That is stupid. He says that aimless detachment does not lead a man to a higher level of existence. That is escapism. It is so easy for me to turn around and say, I can't deal with this world. I don't want to, be attached. I don't want to live in fear, whatever. I'm going to run away. I'm going to go into the jungle, make a little hut for myself, and I'm going to live there by myself. Am I actually facing what I'm supposed to face, growing and evolving? No. What I'm doing is I'm escaping because the effort of trying something is way too hard. It is like a parent. There are parents who allow their children to get away with murder, whose children are spoiled brats. The effort of teaching the children the correct mode of behavior, the effort of scolding the children, listening to the child crying, listening to the child whine but not giving in, is so high. So the parent takes the escapist route and says, oh, just let them do whatever they're doing, they will learn eventually. That is exactly what they are saying here, that no, it is not. We are not asking to go into the jungles. We are not asking you to renounce. We are not asking for any of that. That is escapism. What we are saying is that the detachment from the outside world should be coupled with the capacity to face all challenges in life, auspicious and inauspicious, with a balanced mind, with equanimity in both, irrespective of what is it. Life by its very nature is a mixture of good and bad. The evolved person who understands it faces both with the same detachment. It doesn't matter whether it's happiness, will face it with detachment because you know this too shall pass. Whether it's grief, you face it with the same detachment because you know this too shall pass. Detachment is not, and I've explained this before, detachment is not being cold, being unconcerned, not caring. Detachment is going through all the emotions but not getting affected by them, not allowing those emotions to control you, to take over your life, to make you a puppet out of circumstances. That is detachment. A perfect man, the man who's wise, does not have any aversion for sorrow, does not have any attraction for pleasures. He doesn't compliment or condone anything. He has an equilibrium. Neither will he be against something nor will he be for something, yet he will do the right action at the right time. He accepts whatever comes without excitement, pain, or revulsion or revolting to it. And this is how Krishna answers Arjun's question that he had asked. It carries on in the same way. Krishna goes on to keep explaining what the sense objects done. We've already covered that, what a stable mind does to you. The last 18 verses of the Gita are literally summing up duality, summing up the real, the not real, and explaining that a wise person will not, literally in one sentence, a wise person will not allow any circumstances, good or bad, in the unreal to affect him. And that sums up chapter 2 of the Gita and the last verses of the Gita. We are going to go through, I'm going to sum it up because chapter 2 was really, really important. It contained the entire message. Let's do a slight rewind. From verses 1 to 10, Arjun is sad, he is in a state of dejection, he is overwhelmed by emotions and seeing all his near and dear ones. He does go through all the motions, including fake renunciation, that he would rather live as a beggar than to kill his elders like Bhishma, Pitama, and Drona. And he is willing to give up any sovereignty over the world so that he doesn't have to do the battle. And he comes to a standstill with his grief. He becomes silent. Then, from verses 11 to 30, Krishna starts the actual Gita, the message of the Gita or the Vedantic life, where he starts with the wise grieve neither for the living nor the dead. The self within, that Atma, that soul within us, is eternal and indestructible. Everything around us that has a beginning and an end. Death is certain for those that are born. If you're born, death is inevitable. And not to grieve about what is inevitable, which is death. This is what, if you remember, Krishna had told him that if you think, that told Arjun, that if you think that you are the one killing them, you're not. All they're doing is shedding. The soul is eternal, indestructible. All they will do is shed one body and take another body, or gain moksha, whichever one that happens for them. The real, the unreal. He explains it so beautifully. In fact, the more I think about it, the more when I look around me, everything just seems so unreal. When we go out for dinner, it's like this too shall pass. When there's a spasm of pain or there's a lot of pain after too much of exercise, this too shall pass. I mean, it's literally everything that I'm looking around me, this too shall pass. Yet the beauty of it is that you wake up every morning and you do everything that you are supposed to be doing to the best of your ability, because that is your karma. That is karam yoga. So when you follow the karam yoga, you do everything that is correct without getting attached to anything. And that is literally what I'm experiencing more and more on a daily basis. And especially since I started doing these sessions, it's become highlighted even more on a daily basis. I look at everything and think, this too shall pass. How does it matter? You get a new dress, that too shall pass. It's kapra, it's going to fade, it's going to tear. You wear it 3 times, don't want to wear it the 4th time. This too shall pass. The duality is coming up so much more. Then from verses 31 to 40, Krishna explains to Arjun the importance of performing his duty. He explains the karam yoga. He explains a kshatriya, a warrior, is fortunate to find an opportunity to fight a righteous battle, a battle of dharma, which is what the Mahabharat was all about. Abandoning such an opportunity will only incur sin. If you remember, Krishna had gone and said that if Arjun ran away from the battlefield, he will not be regarded as a hero. He will be regarded as a loser. He will be regarded as a coward. He will be regarded every sentiment, except nobody is going to say, oh, Arjun did not fight the battle because because he had grief or he had compassion. Everybody is going to say Arjun ran away from the battlefield. And that is what happens when we do not do what is right. In victory, a Kshatriya enjoys sovereignty of the world or enjoys whatever he has won. If slain in battle, he gets moksha in any case because he has died doing the Kshatriya dharma. So Krishna advises Arjun to fight the battle without concern for the results. And after this, from up to verse 38, this is all the Sankhya Yoga which Krishna is explaining to Arjun, and then goes on to the Karma Yoga. And from verses 41 to 44, Krishna tells Arjun that people, here he's talking of the Kanda Karma part of the Vedas, which is ritualistic practice. He says that those who fanatically adhere to mechanical rituals will never attain freedom of the mind, will never attain singularity, because they idolize the ritualistic portion of the Vedas, which in itself is written with desire. It is, I have a desire, that is why I'm doing a particular ritual. I want a better house, so I'm doing appeasement or some particular planet or something. So all these, the ritualistic are normally desire written. And that is why people who practice the rituals are unable to concentrate and meditate on the supreme consciousness or evolve the self within us. From verses 45 to 53, he talks of the three gunas, the sattvic gun, the rajasic gun, and the tamasic gun, and tells Arjun to get away from the gunas, come to the sattvic life, to be the correct, righteous, virtuous person, and get out of duality into singularity and rise. The way to become sattvic in mind, nature, body is to get out of duality, to come into singularity. An enlightened soul remains in supreme peace and bliss. And isn't that what we all look for? We're looking for peace in our life and we are looking for happiness in our life. Let me also tell you that the happiness that you get from the core of you, you know, the happiness you get from getting a good house. Let's just take a house as an example. You get this beautiful house, you do it up the way you want to do it up. That happiness is huge, but the higher it goes, the faster it drops. It is not static. Yes, it has a peak. The happiness that Krishna, Ved Vyasa, or the Vedantic philosophy talks about, it is static. It doesn't have too many peaks and troughs. It doesn't go up, it doesn't dip. It is so static. You are in this state of equilibrium all the time. Nothing, really, nothing affects you. In a way, everything affects you, but transient. The core of you never gets disturbed. And it is a beautiful place to be because you're actually at peace. Nothing bothers that core, nothing moves that core. Neither grief nor happiness. It's such a peaceful place to be. I, in fact, find that, those peaks and troughs are far more difficult to take because there's that rush of emotion. Your blood pressure goes up, your heartbeat goes up, your everything goes up. Then there's a crash, your heartbeat comes down, your blood pressure comes down. Everything becomes like, everything just becomes so not nice. It is so much nicer to have that even keel. So you laugh, you smile, you joke, you have fun, you enjoy your life. You even enjoy the challenges life gives you. You even enjoy, I find that so many times when I'm going through a really tough time, there is one part of me that is sitting outside as a third party, watching me go through all the emotions. But that person is never disturbed by the emotions that I'm physically going through. And it's so beautiful to be like that. And this is what he says. And then from verses 54 to 72, he describes what is an enlightened soul. How an enlightened soul expresses himself in the world, what happens to him internally, What does he do when he comes in contact with the external world? What happens when you're a self-realized soul? You get bliss, you get peace, you get equanimity. Your equilibrium is never ever disturbed. And this is what sums up chapter 2 for us.